I have so many clients that have come to me and in a consultation don't even look me in the eye. And then by the time it's like 6 weeks down the road, they're looking me in the eye and they're walking in like proud, like chest up and just like, I'm owning this workout, I'm owning this gym. And it's just such a, I can't articulate the feeling because it's just such a rewarding feeling. And that is across the board.
So hello, we are here with Marie Purvis, who is a good friend of mine. She's a global fitness consultant. How many countries have you worked in over the years? 40 something?
Yeah,
countries?
About that, yeah.
And I'm just so happy that you are here talking with us at OptimizeYou, and I want to know so much, but I'm going to start with, tell us how you started in the career that you are currently in, and we're going to go from there. I want to know this whole path of yours.
Oh, wow. It's a long one, but if you're willing.
Yes.
Yes. Well, gosh, I think it started with, growing up in a household with two working parents. My mom worked 2 jobs. My dad worked 3 jobs. We were daycare kids as my sister and I. So we didn't really have a space where we belonged, and we weren't getting a lot of connection with our parents. And it was fine. I mean, we didn't know any different, right? And it was great. And you learn how to adapt and change and evolve in every situation that you're in, especially when it's just you and a sibling.
Yeah, makes you resilient.
Yes.
Pretty quick.
Very quickly. But so I was born in California. We lived there until I was 10 years old. And then we moved. My parents decided to move to Colorado, where my dad's family was, his family. And that was at an age where I was finishing up elementary school, going into middle school, which we all know middle school is super awkward.
Such a brilliant time. Yeah.
Right? I'm like, God, where do I belong? And that was my sense. I just wanted to belong somewhere. So I was the kid who was always trying to hang out with certain cliques and certain groups. And, what do I like? I knew I liked dancing because that was what we did as a family. We'd turn on the music on Saturday mornings and we're dancing, doing chores and all those weird things. But my parents also couldn't afford for me to do dance and sport. So I came to a choice in life, what do I do? And sport gave me the connection to my dad. So my dad ran track growing up, and track was what I was good at. It was really good. I hated it. I hated running track.
It's so hard.
So hard. And it's so painful. And it's you and the track, and you're running in
your
a circle.
Feet and your legs.
It's just awful, right? And I'm like, oh gosh. But I'm getting connection with my dad, and it's something we have in common. And so that's why I did that. And I was getting affirmation. I was getting positive reinforcement. I was building my confidence. I found a group of like-minded people, both men and women, and
Through sport.
And I attribute everything, a big part of who I am today, to what I learned from playing sport. And I have a competitive edge, and I am, wanting to continue to strive to be better. And how can I change things about myself to perform better? And that was something that was always just on the forefront of my mind. I'm very goal oriented. I strive for excellence, and everything that I do, it's almost exhausting. Well, not almost. It is exhausting. But yeah, so then that was kind of where I found my connection with sport. But track is an individual sport, and I wanted something more. So I'm like, I want to go out for a team sport. And I loved volleyball, but I was horrible, you guys. I was the kid that the coach was like, why can't you have heart like Marie? And I'm like, yay, guys. This is great. I'm always sitting the bench, and it was fun. And what I loved about that more than anything was that we were a team, and we were doing this together.
You had love and belonging there.
Yes. And even though I wasn't the starter, even though I sat the bench on most games, but I came to every practice and I showed up and I was there to support the team in any way that I could. And by sitting on the bench, you can learn a lot if you're open-minded and you're receptive of like what's happening going on in the field. And so then that's when I realized how much I loved working with people and working with people in a team aspect, right? So like, there was something that we were all going through together. Like practices sucked. You're doing conditioning, you're doing strength training, you're doing all this stuff and it sucks. But you're in it together and you're winning and the end goal is to win. But you also learn how to play to each person's strengths. And see where they're weak, but then how do you help them like lean into those strengths and then build a team of everyone succeeding where they're strong.
You were like riding the bench, turning into a little coach, weren't you?
Totally. Oh, I so was. And I loved it. And then I had my track coach in high school was brilliant because he educated us and he would say terms like anaerobic threshold and lactic acid buildup. And when we were kids, and I'm like, what the heck does that mean? And he's like, if you want to find out, here's a book. So he didn't like dumb things down for us athletes. He really was starting to teach us. And I was intrigued with that. And I remember sitting in his office and being like, you know, tell me about Manning, like Coach Manning, I need you to tell me about this and that. And he's like, this is the education that you need to go down. So I knew going into college that I wanted to be some kind of like athletic training or exercise physiologist or something around that because I was so fascinated with what happened to the body under exercise, the stress of exercise. And I wanted to know what the heck he was talking about because I was like, I'm not going to read this textbook. You have me out here running 400s. Like, I don't have time to read this, but I'm curious as to like what you're doing. So I knew I was going to go down that path. And college happens, and I decided not to play sport in college because I was your overuse injury girl, like
from high school.
From high school. So playing two sports, coaches back then don't really know how to train off the court or off the track or off the field, and you know, you're running and you're practicing and you're playing and you're doing strength training, you're doing all these things and you're trying to keep your studies up and you're, you know, lack of sleep and it's just overuse injury.
You're broken down.
Breaking down your body.
Totally.
And I wasn't ready to set up for that because, let's be honest, the only thing I could have probably done in college was track. And we all know how much I loved track. So I was like, nope, not doing that.
Yeah.
But then I'm at a place where I wasn't belonging anywhere. So then I was like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
I knew what I was studying. I knew that I had a passion. Like you said, like I was a coach in the making. I knew I loved this dynamic of sport, competition, training, how the body reacts to training that you're doing, the workouts that you come up with and all this stuff. And so then I was like, okay, cool. Well, then I found the gym. Right? Like you put your freshman 15 on. I think mine was about 20, but hey, I did the partying and all the good stuff. But yeah, I found the gym and then I was like a gym rat. And I was like, okay, this is community. And that's where group fitness came into space. Now, mind you, all of this time, my mom ran a jazzercise center all through like middle school and high school for me.
And what year was this? Because group fitness was not nearly the phenomenon that it is now. So what year was college?
College was 99.
Okay.
So 99 to about 2004. Mm-hmm. I took a year off because I moved from Colorado to Portland to here. And I wanted to get in-state tuition because my dad was like, well, you moved cities, I'm cutting you off. And I'm like, ugh, okay, here we go. Let's do it. And so then I took a year off and then I finished up at Portland State was my last year in college. But yeah, so it was like 99. But jazzercise was the it thing from a group fitness standpoint. And my mom has always struggled with her weight. She's always struggled with being a woman who's working 2 jobs, raising 2 kids, overweight. I mean, her weight was constantly up and down. She did Atkins. She did Weight Watchers. She did the Slim Fast. She did
every magic bullet
story for
everything.
So many women in that position.
It's crazy. It's mind-blowing. And it hasn't changed. If anything, it's getting worse.
Yeah.
I feel like the pressures for women are so much more intense than back then. And
You're right.
and it's just, I don't know if it's because we're exposed and everything's through social media and all that stuff. You're seen. You're so much more seen. Whereas my mom could hide behind the work and raising her kids and, creating a life for us in there. And yes, there's pressures and you're trying to find a place where you fit, but there wasn't social media. I mean, the only people judging her were the people that she perceived were judging her in her immediate world.
So you were not doing sport in college, you were finding the gym, and then you went on to figure out like this was my place of belonging. Mm-hmm. I can now find my new belonging here. And then how did that lead you into becoming a trainer, a fitness consultant? Because this has been a really big part of your life.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing it my whole life. I haven't done anything else.
Yeah.
So I knew that gym, I loved the group fitness. So I loved the dance classes, the boxing classes, the spinning classes. I mean, we try to think that we reinvent the wheel here, but we're not.
Yeah.
All the classes that are happening now happened back then.
Yeah.
But I just loved that camaraderie. It's the camaraderie and the team feeling that you're going through something tough together. Mm-hmm. But what I found a lot of the time was people will go into the gym and not know what the F they're doing.
They don't.
They just walk around and aimlessly, and they're just like, oh, I'll do this Bowflex arm curl machine and this chest press, and I'll go talk to these boys over here. Oh, look, the football team's here. Hey, guys, whatever. And I was seeing that, and I was like, okay, I want to learn more so that I can help all these people be able to know what to do in the gym, right? So jump ahead. I created an internship program. Now I'm at Portland State. And Portland State didn't have exercise physiology per se. They had a community health in addition to the exercise physiology program, which was interesting. At the time, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna hate this. But now I understand community and the power of community. And so that's where I got a lot of experience with, like, I did a class, Qigong, which is like a...
Oh, yeah, we
right?
know what Qigong is.
Yep. And so
You got to try it all.
You got to try it all. And I took this class, and I had to go to a homeless shelter and try to get in Old Town Portland, try to get a bunch of homeless people together weekly to try to do this Qigong class that I created, or like that I was practicing. It was part of my community, like one of my classes. You guys, that
Challenging.
was the most challenging thing ever.
Yeah.
But I had to put myself out there, and I'm doing something that I way outside my scope of practice and, any experience that I'd had, but it put me in front of people, and then I loved it because I got the response, the affirmation, the community, and I was leading this, helping, even though it was like 2 people that showed up on a regular basis, but those 2 people came back every week for a semester. So it was like...
And what were you seeing in people from the beginning? Because you've been doing this for a long time. What are you seeing in people when they're participating in movement or exercise? I know that for you, it's a huge sense of belonging, but I'm sure you're observing things in other people too. What do you notice?
Gosh, I notice a lot of things. I mean, I think it goes anywhere from acceptance. They're uncomfortable when they come to you first because they're probably not used to doing something like this.
Yeah.
Or they're taking a leap of faith of like, hey, I know I need to work on something internally, and I think this is the way that I can get there. So they're a little bit intimidated, but as time evolves and they stick with it, you see confidence growing drastically. I mean, that's the first thing, right? Because they're starting to feel better.
And what a gift.
And what a gift. I mean, I have so many clients that have come to me and in a consultation don't even look me in the eye. And then by the time it's like 6 weeks down the road, they're looking me in the eye and they're walking in like proud, like chest up and just like, I'm owning this workout, I'm owning this gym. And it's just I can't articulate the feeling because it's just such a rewarding feeling. And that is across the board. I mean, every single person that I have worked with they start a little bit insecure, a little bit nervous, a little bit scared, and then you just take them on this journey and they're like, holy moly, like this is amazing, I feel great, they're smiling more. I have one client that I love her story because she came to me, she did almost a year and a half of prep work with just changing her nutrition, just the way she ate. Then she came to me, so she had lost like 100 pounds on her own in that year and a half. She was severely overweight. obese. And she came to me, and she, like I said, she was completely lacked confidence. She wouldn't look me in the eye at all. I mean, you could tell she was timid. She was scared to do anything or try anything. And a year later, she's doing everything plus more that I asked her to do. She was organizing softball league games, putting herself out there, joining all of the recreational sport type things, which she was never a sport person.
It's amazing.
She lost I think she lost another 100 pounds over the course of 3 years. And, she's walking more confidently. I even took her to the mall to help her shop, to make her feel confident in what she was wearing, because she was still in her mind, she was still the overweight woman that got picked on as a kid her whole life. Yeah. And she couldn't figure out how to overcome this. And then she did it, but she was still dressing that way. And I was like, no, let's go to the mall. You got confidence, girl, and you're going to rock this. Yeah. Let's do this. And I mean, it was one of those stories. And that's a lot of stories. That's a lot of people out there. And so, I mean, I think confidence is the biggest one that I see. Increase in confidence, the ability to share their story, to have the confidence to share their story, to inspire others around them, their community, their immediate community around them, their family, their friends, their colleagues. So it's
like a ripple effect.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's so freaking cool. And all it starts with is movement.
Moving your body.
Moving your body.
And you've worked with people all over the world. Let's fast forward a little bit to how you started working globally. Because you've had these experiences within the United States proper, but then also amongst all different types of cultures. So how did you get there?
Yeah, so very exciting and very fortunate. I had a mentor that I worked at Velocity Sports Performance with, and he taught me all the performance side of training, and I got to work with various different sport athletes, whatever their sport was, from 8 years old all the way to the collegiate level. He left Velocity Sports Performance and went to Nike. And about a year after that, he was like, hey, I might have an opportunity for you to go and work at the sports centers at Nike. And I'm like, what? Okay, this is awesome. And I interviewed with my boss, and she was like, yes, you're starting today, blah, blah, blah. And then I was probably on campus for about 9 months, and it quickly became and this was early 2000s, so there weren't a lot of female trainers, let alone performance coaches, because it was very male. I mean, the industry is still very male-driven. So I was kind of I was the right place, the right time with the right brand. And they were really trying to shift what they can offer for women, because Nike is notoriously known from a male perspective, right? Mm-hmm. It's a male brand. And all the boy sports, the footballs, the basketballs, the running, and all this stuff. So they're really trying to venture off into women's. So a woman came to me who was working in women's training, which is a category of Nike, came to me on campus. So I was training the employees of Nike at their sports centers, which would be a gym, a corporate gym on campus. And she was like, hey, I just want to pick your brain. What do women want? And I'm like, oh yeah, I got this. I was like, women want guidance. They want to know, they want to tone up, they want to lose weight, and they want to build confidence. So can we provide that? And this was before the market started getting into all these fitness apps. And they're like, well, we want to create an app, a fitness app for women. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, just for women. And I'm like, Nike, you're getting that kind of backing too.
Yeah.
And so we started creating, so that was a 2-day conversation, a couple hours, and they flew me to London to work with their agency, AKQA, which is a very popular agency. And they were like, okay, we're just going to be in a room with whiteboards everywhere, and what would be your dream app? And I'm like, oh my God. I'm in the big boy leads now. This is the real deal.
I have dreams about this app.
Yeah. And I'm like, and this could really shift everything for women, because if you go back to my time in college, where I'm seeing a ton of people, women, walking around this gym aimlessly, not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
I'm like, we can create the tools to be able to give them guidance so that when they go into a gym, they can do a workout. And that's exactly what we did. And so then NTC launched in 2009, Nike Training Club. It's an app. It came as an app first. Very successful. It just blew up. I mean, we don't have enough time to tell you the amount of stories of lives that have been changed from that app. But I just created the workouts that went into the app. And then I kind of became the face of NTC. And they were like, okay, well, we're successful here in the app space, but we need to do more, because that's what we do, right? We always want to do more, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if you want to do more, you got to really build community. And the only way to build community is to be able to get on the ground. So grassroots, like, let's find ambassadors who can, that believe in our message, that can spread our philosophy and teach these classes.
Yeah.
And so then that's where we started to build our Nike Master Trainer network. And I went all over the world finding badass trainers that could speak positive about what we're doing and what we're trying to do, and who were believing in that. And with that, we started doing events. So it was like simultaneously trying to find trainers. And we relied heavily on the teams that were in those cities, the Nike teams, to find ambassadors in the community already that they really look to, and they can tell we're, paving the way, making change and positive change and all that stuff. So the combination of the two, we trained them. It was like a weekend certification. No joke. I mean, it's crazy because training doesn't have to be hard.
It's not rocket science.
It's not rocket science. You got to move, right?
Yeah.
And our goal, what I believe, is to get our clients from point A to point B the fastest. Whatever that journey is, whatever goals they have, that is our job.
Support them along the way.
Exactly. And so then we started building that. We had, at the time, this was now like 2 years later, probably 2 or 3 years later, we had about 300 and some trainers all over the world teaching NTC, whether it be like in a 24-hour fitness, whether it be in their own like personal studios that they were doing. We even had pop-up gyms at one point that were attached to retail, like the Nike Town stores, and all these things. We tried every different thing, but we wanted people to just move, and we wanted women to be inspired by our brand.
What about communities or countries where movement is not encouraged, exercise and fitness is not encouraged for women, or they have, different rights than the men? I know that you've experienced that with different communities that you've worked with.
Absolutely. I mean, that is, talk about wow, right? Like, so this was an app, and it was really giving tools to help people work out with minimal equipment, so you can do it anywhere, anytime. That was the slogan, right? NTC Anywhere, anytime. It's a personal trainer in your pocket. And a lot of cultures, especially in Asia, weren't allowed to work out in public places.
Women were not allowed.
Women, yes, correct. Women were not allowed to work out in public places, let alone with men present.
So that means they don't have access to like your conventional gyms. Group fitness isn't really something that was existing at that time. They did have access to the app though?
They did have access to the app.
So this was like an awakening, like a movement awakening for a lot of different communities.
Absolutely. And not only did they have that, but we were now doing pop-up workouts where it was just women. So I remember this one particular story. We were in India, we were in Mumbai, and this was like, gosh, I'll probably get like all worked up because it's just so,
you can get worked up.
Sorry, I'm just like,
it's a big deal.
Oh, it was like such a aha moment. But anyways, they were doing this app in Mumbai, and they were like, okay, we need to do something for these women. And so we rented a space in the basement of a gym. I think it was a gym. It wasn't a business office thing, but in the basement. And we had about 20 women show up, and we did a workout, and it was like hot and sweaty, and there was no windows. There was like no fans, and we're in India. It's like really hot and sweaty, humid, right? And the stories. And then afterwards, we just talked. I'm like, I want to hear from you. I want to know what your journey has been. And every single one of them were in tears. We were all like just bawling by the end of it. And they were like, you know, NTC gave me confidence. I was able to work out at home in the privacy of my own home. I'm a better mom for it. I'm not choosing arranged marriage. I'm not choosing to have kids at a really young age. I'm choosing a profession that's not in medical, tech, or law. You know, they're
Confidence.
The confidence.
The movement was confidence.
Oh my gosh, it like gives me chills to think about like this tiny little app that we created in London in a little small room was giving access and opportunity for all those women around the world.
And what a profound effect exercise can have on your life. Just moving a little bit, an app in your house can make you choose to not have arranged marriages and choose a different job path and be a better mom. Exercise, movement, your app. It's so
insane.
amazing.
It's insane. That was like one of those moments in life where you're like, holy crap, we're doing something right. You know, like I've always grown up, my dad was super adamant, same with my mom. They were very much like, you just do the right thing, Marie. In life, you just do the right thing, you will be okay. And this was the time where I was like, and it's not just me. I mean, we had a massive team support from Nike, of course, the brand. But it was just like, let's all collectively put our experiences and our expertise in one thing and just do the right thing for women. And look what it did. I mean, it was insane. It was, and those stories were endless. I could tell you, I was at a Jordan event, something totally different than women's training. And I think it was in Chicago. It was somewhere in the US. And this woman came up to me, stopped me in line. I was just walking through this, like the shoe mural type thing, you know, whatever. And she's like, oh my God, are you Marie Purvis? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm meeting you. Can I hug you? And I'm like, yeah, let's hug it out. And she's like, you have no idea how you changed my life. And she just broke down in tears, full on tears. She goes, NTC has changed my life. I've lost, I can't remember the weight, I apologize, but a significant amount of weight. She was a role model for her daughter. She wanted to show her daughter that she could be successful and confident, but she wasn't feeling that. So she didn't know how to teach it by leading by example until she did the app, and she was working out at home, and she found her community. She was talking to people online, and she was like, we're doing this together. And it was just like
belonging. It's always coming back to that for you.
It really
community
is.
And belonging.
It's like, it's so powerful.
So now you're not with Nike anymore.
Correct.
But you were recently in Sri Lanka, is that right? And you started a gym there?
I was training there. I was doing in a home. I had women, all women come to my house. I was fortunate enough to have a beautiful space where it was perfect for a studio. So I just did a small little studio, which you can do there because anything goes in Sri Lanka. Yeah.
And you were telling me, at one point, you were telling me a story about a woman who had a similar transformation to some of the stories, but she was like a CEO or some sort of a...
She was high up in the manufacturing company that is they employ the most people in Sri Lanka on this island. And she wasn't a CEO, but she was high up, which was unheard of for women.
Yeah.
Right? So she's director, VP kind of level, that doesn't happen for a lot of women in that region of the world. But yeah, I mean, her story is just,
had she had exercise and movement in her life prior?
No, not really.
And you started working with her?
Started working with her, and then I got to learn her story. I mean, she had cancer. She had to go through rounds of IVF to try to start a family. She now has triplets triplets. And all the while she's climbing this corporate ladder. I mean, she started on the sewing machines and has now influencing and leading teams. And in this space that is just not,
You just don't see it.
Unheard
don't
of.
see
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And so we started working together, and it was about probably like not even, maybe like 8 weeks, a couple months. And she started to like see change in her body. And again, it was just the same thing. Like you just see this evolution of confidence growing inside people when they're doing something that they're choosing for themselves too, right?
It's
so
empowering.
very empowering.
Yeah.
And she, you have to commit. It is a commitment, and it's a commitment of time. It's a commitment away from your family and away from work and all that
Energy.
stuff. Energy. And she's like, you know what? It's my turn. I'm investing in me. And she chose to do that. We worked out super early in the morning. She got up, came to my house, worked out, then went home, was a mom, got her kids off to school, and then went and worked a 10-hour day at, her job. Goes home, does it all over again, right?
But that was like her version of pouring into herself. Mm-hmm. Man.
Yeah. She was like, I'm committed to coming to you. It was just 2 days a week. That's it. Just 2 days a week.
And her health probably just increased by so much, right?
So much. Her doctors were like, oh my God, you look amazing. What are you doing? It's just, it was just tenfold.
She probably had better energy and better sleep. It does so much for people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is where I get excited. When people start to notice the internal benefit, the more sleep, the more energy, the letting things like brush off your shoulders a little
life
bit
just
more.
feels easier
Yes.
because you're moving your body and you're not as stuck.
Yes, it's so true. It's just
Things
like
flow. Yeah.
everything just starts to fall into place because you're like, I feel good.
Momentum.
Yeah, I feel good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I always think about, we've talked about this, but I always think about exercise and movement as creating momentum in your life, just energetically, among other things. But that makes so much sense.
I love that. That's great.
You've been in this industry for a long time. You've seen an evolution of what exercise and movement looks like, specifically for women. What's something that you've learned about yourself going through this process and being where you are now, kind of on the other side of a very high peak, and then looking forward to what's coming next and just sort of where you are at now in your life?
Oh gosh, that's loaded.
Big question.
That is a big question because there's been a lot of soul searching. Let me tell you, it's been a journey. So yes, most people who go into fitness, it's usually because they want to help people, right?
Yeah.
And it's not a very lucrative business, let's be honest. And you spend a lot of energy on a lot of other people, and you don't work on yourself. You put yourself on the back burner constantly. You can get in this hamster wheel of like looking a certain way and feeling a certain way because it's vanity. At the end of the day, this industry it's all about the sexy, right? Like we got to look sexy. We're going to target the 20-something-year-olds who have beautiful genetics and they look gorgeous doing crunches, and I'm going to guarantee you 6-pack abs. It's like, that's not a realistic goal.
Yeah,
so,
you've seen the reality and really like the heart of what it is.
Yes. Yeah.
So where are you at now with it?
Oh gosh, it's been soul searching. So being removed from Nike, and granted, I had amazing opportunities and Nike was amazing to me. But being away from it, stepping out and being where I'm at in my life, I saw how toxic it could be to me as the professional who was trying to, I was thinner than I should have ever been, but I thought that was my norm and that's where I had to be. And I still struggle with it today. I constantly look in the mirror. I constantly beat myself up, and my husband's like, I wish that you would just stop. But you do, because you just get like, there's these expectations that you think you have to hit, these check marks of like, can I still lead? Can I still coach? I still doubt myself every single day of like, can I be that leader for people? And how can I, if I'm lacking confidence, or I don't have, like right now being back from Sri Lanka, we've been back for, it'll be a year in April. And I still have this sense of unsettlement because I don't feel like I belong anywhere. My community is gone. My community was Nike for so long, right?
Yeah.
Now I have nowhere where I belong.
It's like starting over.
It is. And it's been really freaking hard, like really hard for me, because I've always been like, oh, I'll just find it. Like
Community
I can do
and belonging.
this. Community and belonging. Like that's where I can go and do it, but I don't have that. And I'm having to find that within. And that's been the hardest thing. So
well,
it's like,
and it probably looks totally different for you. You're a person too. Everybody looks at you as somebody who has it all together, and she works out, so she's confident. She's everything that she's saying. But things change, and you're kind of on probably a little bit of a different path right now.
Absolutely.
And looking even deeper inside than you ever have before.
Yes.
And it's probably going to look a little bit different for you.
Yeah, it's going to look very different. I mean, we are trying to have kids. I'm just going to put that out
That's exciting.
there. Yeah. So I'm going to go through the whole IVF process, because that's a whole nother thing, right? And I'm going to be very open about my journey, because I do feel a lot of women, over my experience, a lot of women have trouble getting pregnant. And there's another expectation that we're supposed to provide for our family. And the way that women provide is by producing multiple children, and you're like, oh my God, how am I supposed to do
get
this?
right on that.
Exactly. I'm like, well, I can't. So am I broken? Am I not fixable? Am I like, I can't provide? And
am I not healthy
am I not
enough?
healthy?
All
Yeah.
I've done is try to be healthy my whole life.
Exactly. So all those things come into play. So I want other women out there to know that they're not the only ones. This is a big thing that a lot of women go through, especially as we put ourselves first, which is 100% okay. Like, I encourage women to put themselves first at all costs, because that is the only way that you're going to be the best version for the rest of your team, which is your family and your friends and the community that surrounds you. If you don't do that, you're going to burn out.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't keep, everything is falling apart. Like, I went through a divorce. I was trying to get pregnant back then, and then I couldn't, and I chose work, and then I was getting judged on that. And like, how could you be doing that? Why wouldn't you try to stick it out with your ex-husband? And like, I'm like,
It's just a process.
this is a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And
And
you've
you're-
heard Go ahead.
You're a real person.
Yeah.
You are a real person. You might be the face of NTC, but you are a person who has real struggle and is allowed to evolve and change what you think about health and put yourself first.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing that you share your wins and your struggles.
Yeah. Thank
You kind of already
Thank you.
answered this, but I just have one last question. We talk about our mission of OptimizeYou being helping encourage people to move towards better health every day. And so if I were to pose the question to you, how do you think people can move towards better health every day based off what you've learned about yourself and about, women in fitness, or just even your experiences? How can people move towards better health?
I think personally, it's work. I think you have to make a conscious decision to choose you, and be okay with that. I think that's a big thing. We have the guilt. Women carry so much guilt, and it's a hefty beast on those shoulders. So get rid of it. Figure out how to get rid of it. Write. I journal a lot. I write down when I'm feeling anxious. I've been feeling a lot of anxiety lately
Around transitions. And,
it's just like change. And I always prided myself. I'm like, oh, I can do change. It's easy. I encourage change. And I'm like, no, I really don't like change. I don't know if anyone likes change. I'm like, this is hard stuff. So,
Dear journal.
yeah,
this is hard.
This is really hard. Life is hard. But yeah, I think it's a conscious choice, and be okay with that. And
I love that.
And really just be okay with where you're at in your life in that moment, and don't beat yourself up. Give yourself some grace of like, it is okay that I want to drink this bottle of wine. It is okay that I'm going to have these cookies and this donuts. And it is okay that I'm going to choose to go to yoga in the morning because I have a crazy day and I just need a moment to myself. It is okay for any choice that you make. It is okay. And it's okay to, and if you can get to a place where you can quiet the noise of all the passerbyers that are passing judgment, right? Like, it's going to happen. Haters are gonna hate. Hate. No, I'm just kidding. I love that song, but it's true, and
awesome.
it's so hard not to let it affect you. But I think those are the biggest things on your way, because once you do that, then you're gonna choose healthier things.
Yeah.
Right. Like whatever the journey is gonna be. And for me, my journey is like, how can I just be easier on myself? Just give myself a little bit of.
Grace.
It's okay. It's okay to be here.
I hear you keep saying, choose you.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Choose you.
It's important.
Yeah. Thank you
'Cause we
so
don't do it.
much
Yes.
for being here
Thank
with
you.
us.
Thank you. You guys were
Really
so
great to
You
talk
have
to
so
you.
many stories that would be so valuable to hear. We could go on for hours.
We could
Yeah.
go on for hours.
Thank
I think
you
I'm
for
on
being
board,
here.
guys. Thank you.
So great.